All right, so this is part two of what happened to my wife, Chantel. So if you watched part one, it was heavy. I apologize for that. Is why I explained to you the exact night what happened. I took a breather, so now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about. I'm going to go back in time before that and just tell you a little bit about our relationship, different parts of it. So one of the things that I love about Chantel is she was always open to growing and trying new things. Like she wasn't very closed-minded at all when it comes to trying new things, whether it was spiritually, physically, or mentally. One of the things spiritually, because we was always on the spiritual growth together. Spiritually, that we used to do was we used to actually go to psychic fairs in Dallas. They used to have them once a month, every like second or third Sunday in Dallas, and we used to go there. And so when we went so much that even my mom came with us once. She missed church to come with us, and one of the psychics told her how she's like, "Yo, your son he's an old soul. You should listen to him sometime." And she was like, "Yeah, he's full of wisdom. I don't know where he gets the knowledge." And one of the psychics that did a reading on Chantel and I together, we did a lot of readings separate and together, was saying how we are souls that have been interconnected throughout multiple lives. She was like, sometimes you're a man, you're one, like, the physicality changes, but she was like, you two always came back to find each other. And that was something that always felt right with Chantel and I. Like when we came together, it was like we knew we belonged together. Like if you've been in that type of relationship, like like, oh, this is a person that I know, like at a deeper level than what I really understand it. And so she talked about like a lot of different times Chantel would be my teacher. She'd be the one that got me to the next level. All these different things. Because we believed in past life regression. We did a lot of those type of things and did a lot of things to spiritually grow. And so with the psychics, like they told us a lot, but right before we left, we went to a psychic in Houston, and she did a reading on us, and she explained to us like, y'all about to go on a big journey. And she was like, she looked at me and she was like, he is looking for you. There's a young boy that you're going to find. And then and I was like, so are we going to, where do we find him at? Like, how old is he? And then she looked at Chantel and she stopped talking. And she was like, she abruptly just ended it. Like she was in a role and then she looked at Chantel and she was like, you know what? I can't tell you that part. And I think that was part of her knowing that our lifeline together was about to come to an end. Because I feel like I was getting a lot of signs before she actually passed away. One of them was the actual story that I shared with you. Sorry, I'm just scooting back a little. Was the story that I shared with you of her coming to me with her journal and saying, yo, I got everything that I wanted in life. I'm so happy. But there was a lot more to that because there was a lot of things that were just going on that was weird. So one of the things that we did, we were practicing a lot in psychedelics. I was doing big on doing a lot of acid, mushrooms, and then I wanted to do DMT. I started really doing the research on it, but I was terrified because if you read the research on DMT, if you read anybody's stories on DMT, it's a lot, man. And that's one of those things like, I'm like, look, I ain't trying to come back and I'm brain dead or I'm in vegetative state. Like I want to be coherent. And so after I finally did enough research, I got my hands on DMT. It was easy to get in Colombia if you knew the people that knew it. And this is one of the things I like about psychedelics. Not saying you should do them. Only people who do psychedelics know how to get psychedelics. It isn't something you're just going to find somebody walking on the street. Hey, you want some psychedelics? No. So that's one of the beautiful things that I like about it. So it's a lot safer. You don't have to worry about as much of things being contaminated or people doing silly stuff because it's people who use them. And so I ended up getting some, and I sat on it for like a month. And she was, Chantel kept asking me, she's like, dude, are you going to do the DMT? She's like, when are you going to do this? And I was like, let me just do some more research. Let me do some more research. And then I finally got to the point I was like, okay, yo, I'm doing it this weekend. I'm going to sit at home. I'm going to do the DMT. I got the perfect pen to use to do it. I got everything perfect. We're in the perfect place. The weather's perfect. Lay back on the couch, everything. And so she was like, okay, I'm going to do it with you, which was crazy because she don't usually dig deep into trying some of the things I was trying. And so we did it. I did the DMT. I took the 3 puffs. I lay back on the couch. She sat there as my spirit guide, just to make sure I was good. I had eye massager on, and it had like some very soothing music going. And then I had frequency music going on the phone while she just watched over me. And so it was the weirdest experience. As I laid back and I laid down, I could feel the top of my head open up. And the top of my head opened up, and then I was like, my spirit was going on an escalator, and it was just going up, 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 all the way in the sky, all the way into space, to where I just became, and all I could see was darkness. As I was seeing the darkness, I came into a place where I could feel frequencies. It was like geometric shapes coming in, but they were like that harmonizing thing where it's like, boom, like, radiating out. And then as those came and gone, I was able to feel spirits. I was able to feel my brother, my grandmother. I was able to feel mommy. I was able to just feel people. I knew them, but I didn't remember them from the physical world that I came to, but I knew them. And we all were speaking at one time. I could hear all of them at once. I understood everything. We wasn't speaking with our mouth. It was just a feeling. You could feel it. And I kept telling them, like, thank you for allowing me here, but I don't want to be here. I want to be alive. I want to be in the physical. And it was like, it's okay. It was like, you can come when you want to come. We love you. And when they said that, I felt true, unconditional love. I felt safe. I felt like, oh, this is what I've been looking for on earth, but this is where it really is. And then when I came back, because the trip lasted less than 15 minutes, I just had tears of joy coming out of my eyes because I felt so loved. And she was like, why are you crying? I was like, man, because they love me. I was like, I love you. I wish I could show you the love that I felt there and love you that way. And you knew it each and every day. And so got myself together, drank some water, a few minutes passed, and she said, okay, let me try it. And I was like, you sure you want to try it? She was like, yes, let me try it. I want to see what it's like. So she tried it. She did it. Complete different experience. Completely different. I didn't understand it at the time, but now I feel I have a better understanding of it. She took the 3 puffs. She laid back. Then she was just like, oh, it's going dark. Because you can speak through a little bit of it. Then she's like, it's going dark. And then like a few minutes passed, and then she just came to choking. She was like, she was grabbing her heart. And I was like, are you okay? What's wrong? What's wrong? She's like, it feels like I was having a heart attack. And I was like, what do you mean? Why would you be having a heart attack? I was like, we don't even eat meat. We don't eat dairy. Like, we know our cholesterols are at a number where it's impossible for you to have a heart attack. And then she drank some water. We laughed it off. And I was like, do you want to try it again another time? Maybe it'll be different. She's like, no, I got all the answers I needed. I didn't understand that when she said that. But now I feel like I understood it. And I feel like she knew the simulation of how she was going to physically go back to a complete spirit. Because one of the things Chantel and I didn't have a problem with, we always talked about death because it was so close to both of us. She lost her father in college, and she lost her mother right before we were married, like a year or two before we got married. Me seeing death growing up from a childhood to the military. So we were familiar with that. And so it wasn't one of those things we were afraid to talk about. And I love that about it because sometimes people don't want to speak about the thing that we know is going to happen. And we used to watch The Good Place a lot. If you haven't watched it, make sure you watch that show. And she said, she was like, when I pass away, I want it to just be us alone. Now, if you listen to my story from the first one, it kind of makes sense, don't it? And I was like, and I told her, I was like, it can just be us in the woods and I'll hold you until you walk through the portal. I was like, I'll be there with you every step of the way until you walk through the portal. Don't worry about it. Go back to the first video. It's crazy, isn't it? And I'm laughing now because it's like once you start getting a hold of the spiritual side and letting go some of the physical side, you start seeing how beautiful things really are. And it's crazy because the way that we would talk about the things that we talked about were exactly how things came to fruition. And I feel like we both knew because sometimes we all know when we're going to depart, and we also know when some of our loved ones are ready to depart. And then, like looking back on just a lot of conversations we were having, she was ready to go. Like even when I talked to my baby sister, I asked her, I'm like, did you ever just get when you look back now, do you just get the real the funny vibes of like this girl was trying to warn us all this time and let us know what she wanted, and we were too stubborn to listen or too stubborn to believe her? And she was like, yeah, because she got her own stories to share, so I'm not going to share her stories. And she was like, yeah, I feel the same way. And it's just funny, man, because it was like everything that we built as a family was actually starting to break down. So like when we left the United States, we left with our two cats, Boris and Alexis. Alexi, sorry, not Alexis, that's my niece. Alexi, she came up missing right before we left for Panama. And if you're familiar with cats, when cats are ready to depart, they leave. So she left the house and she didn't come back this time. And, it was weird for her because she would always make sure to come back home before night because she didn't like to not sleep in the bed with us and look over us. She was very protective. But yet, like 2 weeks or a month before Chantel passed, we saw the signs that Boris was getting ready to go. Because like he was someone we had him since he could fit in my hands. Like he was literally a baby, and we kept him. So he saw us as his parents, and he always wanted to be around us, in front of us. Like he's one of those, you see those videos of someone in the bathroom, and then you see the cat paw underneath. That was Boris. He was so annoying. It was like, dude, can I use the bathroom in peace? Can I do this in peace? Like he would like watching us cook. Anything we do, if we go outside on the patio, he's coming with us. He was a spoiled cat, He traveled more places than most humans. That's the funny thing, because he lived in 3 different countries, 3 countries, 1 continent. And so we saw the signs Boris was getting ready to depart, because like he kept wanting to run outside. And it was one of those things like with Boris, you could just leave the front door open. He would not go because he didn't want us out of his sight. And so I had a talk with him. I was like, are you starting to see what I'm seeing? And she was like, yeah. And we both was like, if it's time to go, we got to let him go. We can't just force him. And one day he finally got out. He ran out the door, and we was like, okay, let's just see if he come back. He came back later that evening. Then he did it again. And this time he didn't come back. We looked for him. We asked the people on the property if they've seen him. No one could recognize him or seen him anywhere. So it was the weirdest thing. And so like once that happened, I remember it was lonely in the house. It was like, yo, your kid is gone. You used to hearing him yelling at you for food or yelling at you because you didn't play with him. Um, and then like it was weird. Like if we went out or one of us went out to do something, the other one sitting in the house. We were like, man, it's kind of boring now. It's lonely. And so we just went back into work mode. And she was finishing up her book at that time. And then she wrote her second book, My Best Friend Boris, which haven't been released. I think I still have it on the computer. So I'm gonna end up putting it together, or I might just rewrite it from scratch, just in her memory. And so all of those things was happening, and then something in me changed, and I felt it. It was like something at a soul level. Like I believe when your intuition speaks, you listen, and something just told me just spend every single moment you have with her, with Chantel. And so I did. Like I was now, instead of going out to get us going out to eat and stuff, we stayed more time in the house, and we were cooking, we were doing all these different things. And then it reaches to that infamous day. I just told her, I was like, hey, let me cook for you like I used to, like when we had our house. So I made like I made a pot of pasta, some tomato sauce from scratch, did some tofu in it, had made some vegan cheese and melted it on it. Then made some vegan garlic butter toast using vegan butter and everything. Toasted it, and we just had a delicious meal. Then I made some sorrel, so we were drinking that, and she was just like, "Yo, this is the best meal I've ever had," and everything was perfect. And then that night happened, and now it's funny how you always get back to that night. Oh man! And then like it was just everything was going perfect, man. Everything was going perfect, and then that happened, and it just felt like my world shut down. And then for 3 days, like I was in darkness again, and I haven't been in darkness in a long time. Like it was just light. Like I was living heaven on earth, and then somehow I went back into hell. So a buddy of mine who knew Chantel and he flew out to Colombia to stay with me. The friends of ours that we had there, some of them stayed in the house with me because we were in like a 5 bedroom apartment, not apartment, 5 bedroom. Um, I can't even remember the name now. We were in a 5 bedroom place, and we had a maid's quarter, everything in there. Um, our maids, they were still coming by, checking on me. They was keeping things clean, but it was like so much. The energy was so weird. It was so deep. It was so heavy. And every day I was just looking at the window of the on the to the balcony, and I don't think I was thinking about like maybe if I jump off and I can fall head first, maybe it'll send me straight to her instantly. She'll be there waiting on me. And then the third day, when I was just like, what, I don't know if I can take it anymore. I felt what I felt while I was on the DMT trip. I felt that love, that true unconditional love, and I started crying. And the reason why I started crying was because I knew it was her letting me remind me of where she's at. I knew she was okay. I knew she was in a way better place than where I'm at. But I also knew that she was being loved. And that's what stopped me from acting out my plans, my thoughts. And then, not at that time, I didn't have the awareness to where I am now. But looking back now, I'm like, oh, this is why she wanted me to do that DMT trip. I needed to experience that feeling. So I knew that she was safe and that she was okay. And that's why I say like even now, I try to be the biggest cheerleader to people that's in my lives, like especially when they're wanting to accomplish something or do something. Instead of telling them about the fear, it's just like, yeah, take the chance, do it. Because life is very short. To have a wife that died at the age of 37, becoming 38, while I was going 39, going into 40, it was the craziest thing in my life. It taught me a lot. Um, it taught me how precious life really is. It taught me also why we should be dreaming big. We shouldn't let others diminish our light. And I'm thankful for her for that. I'm so thankful for her. The life lesson she taught me, teaching me to love myself again, teaching me how to love others, teaching me to work on building a closer bond with my mother. Um, she taught me how to get back into business. Like I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know where to start. She taught me those things. She taught me how to do research, how to just be a better person. And I'm thankful for her because all the marriage counseling things we were doing, all the date days, all the psychological work, all these things led me to be the person that I am now. I feel like sometimes I lived like 10 or 12 lives in just this one life, but it was all worth it, man. It was all worth it. And if you really reflect on your life and look back, you'll see like it's all worth it. I just wanted to share that one on this part. I'm gonna cut the video off here and then I'm gonna start filming the next part after I take a breath just to recollect myself. And I'm gonna share with you like the things that I've really missed the most. Cause like now when I watch these dating shows, these relationship coaches, the things they tell you to focus on are not the things that matter. When you're in a happy, loving relationship, the things that you miss the most are not the things that these people are talking about. They're selling you fake dreams and fake relationships that they've never been in. So they don't even understand what it means to be in a happy, loving relationship. So I'm gonna share that next. Yeah, let me just go on and end the video here.